Kia ora everyone, I'm Court from Caffeine and welcome to Grounds Up. This is the podcast where we talk to the people building the most ambitious companies in New Zealand. And today I'm super excited to introduce Barney Chunn, who's the founder and CEO of Drumbeat. And Drumbeat you may or may not have heard of, but it is the latest venture from New+Improved Ventures, who are the people behind Tracksuit and Ideally. So how do you feel about being the baby sister of those two behemoths?
I feel really good about it. It's like, you do startups. You have to do startups if you like a challenge, right? Like, and so the high watermark of Tracksuit and Ideally is kind of emboldening, right? It like shows you that it's a possibility from where we are, and also like younger siblings tend to do, we want to beat them. We want to do better, faster. So I really love it. It's great. And also not only that, but like they have carved the path, and so we get to kind of follow. Like it's possibly easier for us than it was for either of them because we're sort of in their slipstream in some ways, you know. So we gain from their successes as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's talk about you, though.
Sure.
Let's talk about you before we talk about Drumbeat. So am I right in saying that you come from a creative family?
Yep.
And how do you think coming from a creative family has kind of led you into the life of startups?
Well, so my dad, who was in bands and in the music industry, has definitely always said it feels similar, like him seeing much of me and my siblings are in startups and in the tech world. He's definitely always said it feels similar to the music industry of the 70s and 80s. Maybe from an energy perspective, a global perspective, a creative perspective, there are some similarities. But also, like I look at what they did as very entrepreneurial, right? Like you're creating something that didn't exist before, taking it to the world, to a market, and seeing how your audience or your customers or however you want to describe that relationship between your creation and the people who receive it is like huge similarity, right? And also, like you're booking gigs, you're traveling, like, you're doing all that hard graft of like really building something from scratch. So I think there's a strong entrepreneurialism, maybe an underappreciated entrepreneurialism in creatives and musicians and in bands. So that was Dad, and like maybe his path is slightly more well known. But my mum, she's currently like on her 8th startup at the age of, well, maybe I won't say how old she is, but she's running this amazing boutique aged care business now that's like flying. So I think as much as I'm from a creative family, I'm also from a very entrepreneurial family. And
so what was your entry into the startup world, if we go back to the...
I studied philosophy and English at university, and upon graduating found no jobs. And so in my or underemployed days, it was really clear that there was this like great, maybe, nebulous, but really exciting ecosystem that felt like it was starting, and it was all around tech businesses in New Zealand. And so it was the Vens and the Zeros, and maybe Trade Me was already kind of done. Well, not done, but like big. And so we thought, as people in their early 20s do, like, why don't we just start our own thing? That's like, instead of interviewing for a job, we just make the job. And so really it was like that simple. It was being, the market sort of told me I was unemployable, so I had to go and create a job. And that was my entry.
And what was that first business? Tell me more about it. I mean, I know what it is, but I want you to tell me.
Yeah, cool. So we started, myself and two other guys from high school, we started a company called CONQA. So CONQA was a construction tech company, still exists today. And yeah, we had a really interesting time kind of starting that up. None of us were from the industry. But what we did do was do a whole bunch of work around understanding the common characteristics of good organizations. So why was Venn successful? Why was Xero successful? What were the things about good tech companies that would be emulatable? And so we had this list of things that we wanted to make sure were part of the company's DNA. And they were like, they weren't super fun or anything, but they were like clear economically viable. So could you say by using our solution you're going to save X or make Y? Massive global TAM. So we wanted an industry that was clearly present and big around the world. And we did want an existing workflow. So, this was 2024 or something, 2014. So, it was SaaS was like good SaaS was basically just taking like an inefficient existing manual workflow and creating a system that replicated it in a much more effective and efficient way. And so we went out and looked for problems that had those characteristics, and we found ourselves talking to a whole bunch of people from the construction industry, which led us to understanding this quality assurance problem, which led us to trying to solve for it with software, which led us to starting CONQA.
Great. The process of discovery sounds kind of similar to what you go through at New+Improved.
It's very, very similar, yeah. So I sort of found myself back in a really similar way of starting a company. Yeah, totally.
So how did you go from CONQA to becoming an entrepreneur in residence here at New+Improved?
Yeah, so I did about a decade at CONQA, and we had an amazing 10 years of experiences, growth, and troubles, and tribulations, and success, and we had a fantastic time. And then I stopped working there day to day, and I ended up doing a bunch of contracts. I wanted to have more breadth of experiences, and so I was working for a bunch of different companies, fractionally or on projects. And one of them became the entrepreneur in residence here. It was sort of, I was the first one they did. And yeah, I think my experience with how we started CONQA was very much a part of why here made sense.
So for people, I think there's a lot of curiosity about how this works in terms of like creating the MarTech, the next MarTech of the future.
Yeah.
Can you take us through the process of being an entrepreneur in residence here?
Yeah, totally. So it's pretty much a 3-part process of problem discovery, solution ideation, commercial validation, which, is exactly what we did at CONQA. And so it starts with a very open-ended exploration of the challenges and the headaches and the pain that exists for marketers in the market right now. So, that's kind of an easy part, right? Tell us what's really annoying you. People quite like us answering that question. Like, you can have a gripe and a grumble. And so you go out and you ask 100 people, to give you half an hour to talk about their troubles. And then it's finding the patterns, analyzing the through lines, and seeing what is consistent where, and then so you kind of get a map of where the most juicy problems are, and then you go into this process of trying to find a solution to some of them, or to the ones you want to take forward. And so you do a process of like, what if we did it this way, that way? That's the more creative part. And then you take those solutions back and do a round of like testing those solutions. And so we again probably did about 100 conversations on that, just testing and like keeping it really intentionally light, right? Like you don't want it to be, you don't want a response to be, kind of marred by like a really attractive product or a like comprehensive process or whatever. It's like, if you could just do this and it like you draw it on a piece of paper, like, and so if they could see it and like actually get it from that, then that's a really good signal. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, did that. And then once you get the best response to one of those solutions, then the third phase is commercial validation, which is like, okay, we've seen this problem, the solutions had some good responses, but of course, if you're going to build a business, is anyone going to buy it? And so then the third part is like starting to sell it.
Mm. And then you launched it in March this year.
We launched Drumbeat in March. Yep. March. Yep.
March. So how long was that process, the entrepreneur in residence process, before you launched?
I did 4 months.
Wow, that's pretty quick.
It was pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
How early on did PR come up as the problem that you were going to solve?
Pretty quick. Yeah. Yep. And I think the timing for this problem is really interesting. Like, I think PR kind of lost a bit of luster when performance marketing became so justifiable and more and more budget. Like, it just made sense for budgets to go towards, Google and Facebook, right?
Measurable things.
And that's so logical. That's fine. That makes sense. But like, it's becoming harder to get good returns on performance marketing at a time where search is shifting to LLMs and LLMs are weighting more heavily towards third-party credible citations and articles. And so, I think earned media is really having like it's coming back into the forefront of like the strategy for getting consistent awareness. And so like that, we kind of kept picking up on that, like, oh, we weren't doing it. And we always thought we should, but we were really focused on performance. But like, if we're not complementing, because it's not in opposition to performance, but it's like a necessary other part of the process. And so like, if you don't do enough of the other part of the process, your performance becomes worse. So when you're doing both, it's like both make the other better. And so anyway, like, I think that the timing around this has become really like important. Yeah.
So you have 2 co-founders.
Yeah.
How did you connect with them?
Yeah. So one of the amazing things that I think New+Improved do is they focus on the things that are most correlated or causal to success of an organization. And so obviously like the problem, solution, commercialization is a big part of that. You want to make sure you got the right characteristics in those 3 things. But like very much for a startup, the other critical part is the founder group. And so, my first startup was like me and 2 dudes I knew from school. Like if you just sat near, it was like almost we went like, who else isn't, well, actually they were both working, so I can't even, that was just me.
Who else is unemployed?
Yeah. But like, it was like, who am I having breakfast with the next day? Like it was almost as simple as that. And whereas, like putting an intentional spin on, okay, like, what's this kind of like, the best rugby team, and I'm not trying to say like we're the All Blacks, but the best rugby team isn't like the best school team that just kind of made it all the way up. You select people from different places, right? And then you build it up and you build it up. And I think like thinking about it in terms of a team selection is kind of how we thought about it. And so just it's an intentional thing. So what was the kind of question? How did we all come together?
Yeah.
I mean, definitely I've been in the tech ecosystem for like a decade. So, I feel like I knew a bunch of people that then also were able to introduce me to a bunch of people. So we did a big like search or kind of soft search. And I either knew or knew of the other 2. And then we all just kind of like we had a long process of hanging out and working together and hanging out and working together. Yeah.
The chemistry was right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is definitely a chemistry thing for sure. As much as it's like we definitely say about ourselves, we're founders first and then our role second. So like the three of us are the founders of the company, and then we each have like a role within that. So you're the C, E, P, or R, but like definitely founders first. It's a relationship, 100%. Yeah.
So you're the CEO.
Yeah.
Aaron's product.
Correct. CPO.
And then Fallon is
CRO.
revenue.
Yeah.
Right, cool. We've done the building of it, and now I would love for you to tell me about the solution that you built. So what is Drumbeat?
Drumbeat is a PR and comms platform for high growth businesses. So it's a way for great companies to consistently tell their stories across earned media, their own channels, at a cadence that does actually genuinely build awareness with your audience. So like we really believe in the power of stories as the connective tissue between people, and so if you want this, your audience to actually understand who you are, why you're in business, what you sell, why it matters, all those things that do drive people to like care about your company. There's a lot out there, and you need to do it kind of consistently and have a singular kind of story or narrative that you're building upon. And we provide the framework for that to be done.
The story also has to be compelling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you're going to media. I've been on both sides of the kind of table here, receiving press releases and also sending them.
Mm-hmm.
So how does Drumbeat help companies shape their story?
Great. So a couple of different ways. I mean, first and foremost, it's quite firm-handed, Drumbeat. Like it won't just let you. It's not sycophantic like generic LLMs. It'll definitely hold you to a high standard. Sort of work with you on building a story to become more compelling, or tell you to go away and get better information or more information. But we also have like ideation within there as well. So like newsjacking opportunities where you can kind of like jump into a conversation that's going on at the time, or what we're building at the moment is like integrations into your where you already live. So whether that's your CRM or your Notion or your Slack, and Drumbeat can identify, because you don't always know. It's a muscle to build to know what the right story is for the media or for your audience or whatever. Not necessarily what you're proud of and you think's awesome, right? But what's going to matter? And so Drumbeat we've built in that discernment, and so it can kind of go in and go, you need to be talking about this part. Yeah,
it's that age-old thing, you are not your audience, which like all marketers struggle with at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, except marketers are our audience.
Yeah. In your case, it's fine. The other problem, I guess, that particularly companies that don't have the budget to invest in PR agencies struggle with is the relationship side with journalists, right?
Mm-hmm, totally.
So how does Drumbeat help with that?
Yeah, so, I mean, that was probably one of the biggest hurdles for us to get over ourselves to believe in starting the company was PR agencies were consistently selling their network as the shortcut into getting placements and to getting like a, earned media coverage. And if that was true, that was going to make Drumbeat a really difficult proposition. It's not as true as we were led to believe. It's not to say that it doesn't happen, and there are some parts of the media where it absolutely does all the time. Like very like high readership, global tier one media, like, a connection, and can be can be either necessary or incredibly handy. But there's this huge body of like emerging media, trade media, national media, Substacks, podcasters, that you not only do you not need a relationship to introduce yourself to and to get in, and if you're connecting with them with a highly relevant story and a proper pitch to them, like, they don't need to know about you before. They're desperate for stories, right? They're having to pump out more than ever before, and if you introduce them to a great story, they're often they're thrilled about it. And so the fragmenting media landscape has definitely changed the way that stories get placed. And not only that, but at times, I think the way in which the media is now, you can't have those relationships. Like, the companies that we work for, they want to get into their trade publications, they want to get on podcasts, and they want to get on national media in multiple geographies. There's no way a PR agency can have those networks. If they're trying to take on a mid-tech company, a fintech company, a professional services business, and an FMCG company, you can't know all those vertical trades that well across multiple geographies, right? Whereas Drumbeat can actually create that media audience or surface that media audience for you and give you rich information about them and then help you connect with them in a really personalized way. So you can kind of do more now without relying on a human Rolodex than you were paying for back then.
Not to mention that if you're trying to roll out PR across multiple geographies, that bill from the PR agency is going to be
it becomes enormous,
outrageous.
Yeah,
and
so definitely the cost of the oftentimes prohibitively large cost of doing PR through an agency means that there's become this group of great companies who have never had access to it.
Yeah, for sure. Do you find in this early stage that you're in with finding new customers that some of them aren't really problem aware? They're not aware that not telling their story is actually part of what might be holding them back?
Not that much. So much more often we get, I was just on a call with this guy who goes, I've got a checklist, a weekly checklist of tasks, and every Wednesday it says post on LinkedIn, and I don't know what to post about, so it never gets checked. It's way more common that people know that they should be telling their stories more often, whether it's on their own channels or whether it's trying to get good podcasts or coverage or exec thought leadership or whatever. I think there's this kind of knowledge that that's useful in your growth, strategy, but how is much more unknown than the need.
Yeah, fair. So what's the next year look like for Drumbeat? What's the plan?
Well, we're very focused at the moment on making sure we've got consistent high value for our customers, and so we're a lot of product development. We're shipping daily. It's incredible the velocity you can get at the moment. So we're doing a heap of work on just continuously building out the value prop of the company. We're still 4 months into being in market. And then it's really homing in on the customer value, making sure all of our customers are getting, consistent great value from working or using Drumbeat. And then of course it's growing it. So it'll be, potentially raising some capital and expanding over into new geographies ourselves. What's really great for us is that we can also follow where people get placed. So most placements through Drumbeat have been in the US so far. And so we can we're getting information about where people are getting placed, what that market looks like, so, and obviously Australia is big. So we get a lot of placements there. So we're spending a bit of time trying to get over into Australia. We've got a bunch of customers there already. So yeah, it's definitely going to be international growth, but the predominant focus is just like customer value. Yeah, telling those stories.
Yeah, for sure. And you're building a team at the moment?
Yep. We are.
Tell me more.
Yeah, so there's 5 of us at the moment, and we've got a couple of roles out. I think like most companies, it's such an amazing time to be building, right? Because there's so much that's new and exciting, and I mean, you got to make sure that you're not magpieing and chasing the shiny stuff, but there's some incredible, we're seeing it, the velocity of development, the feedback loop cycles, like it's an incredible time. So it also means you don't have to build as big of a team as you once did. And we like being small and tight-knit, and we will stay there. But yeah, we've got, we're hiring for marketing and for engineering, and customer success and PR and comm specialists. So yeah.
Great. Exciting times.
Really exciting times.
Cool.
Yeah.
And we get to share an office. So
yeah.
That's
fun.
That's fun.
Yeah.
But this is actually the first time we've got to chat properly, so that's good.
That's good. Well, that's not so good, but we're both busy.
We're busy doing things. I'm like hungry for stories. Like that's the job. So if people send me them, then I feel like, thank you. I appreciate it.
If it's a good story
Yeah.
and it's relevant to your beat and it's well pitched, like that's a great result for the media.
Yeah.
Right? That's not like an intrusive bad thing.
No,
that's
not
a
at
really
all.
helpful thing. And I do think that is a recognition that maybe more people can kind of like get to, is you're not spamming. I mean, if it's an irrelevant story and you're BCCing it to 200 people, yeah, you're probably like going to be annoying and you're spamming people. But if you've targeted like 15 or 20 like highly relevant, journalists and substackers and podcasters, and then you're personalizing the outreach to be specific to that person, like a lot of the time people get really grateful responses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely how I feel. Awesome. Well, it was great to hear more about Drumbeat, and I am super enjoying watching you guys. It's like, for someone who tells stories about startups all day, to sit next to startups in your phase of growth is just fascinating. And so thanks for having me here.
Oh, it's great. We love it. It's nice to have a few different organizations around it, and it's good energy.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great place to work. But yeah, obviously I'll be following you very closely, like 10 meters away, as you continue to grow, and wish you all the best of luck. And thanks for joining me today.
Thank you very much. Thanks so much for having me.